Fantastic.
This is Travis getting his coffee and ready to go.
Good morning.
Okay, so kitchen, anything in the kitchen?
Kitchen. Okay, yeah, I guess since we're here, we'll start with the kitchen. The stove, you are missing one of the little caps.
Okay.
So the burner will not work.
Okay.
And you should be able to replace that easily.
Okay.
The rest in the kitchen is more of just kind of general wear and repairs on the floor. The cabinets are good. There's no leakage, no damage. There is GFCIs where they're needed. Other than that, in the kitchen, that's fine. The living, dining room area here, I don't really see much more except the extension of the same with the flooring throughout the house. There's been previous repairs, grout cracks, things like that, that are pretty obvious when you come in and take a look at it.
Okay. Bar area.
The bar area here, just kind of general age. You've got a little bit of cracking in the wall here.
Okay.
The sink's fine, no leaks. There is a little damage to the sink, more of like wear.
But otherwise it's fine.
But otherwise it's solid. It's not leaking or anything. On the windows, most likely this is really a heavy area where there's a lot of water getting here. That I actually found current moisture on the wood itself.
Okay.
I'm assuming from the sprinklers, but that's the only reason why, because we haven't had any rain. So
Okay, and I of course didn't hit videotaping right at the beginning, but you said this is kind of the case for most of the windows that you've seen in the house.
yes,
Okay.
about 90% of all the wood trim on the house and the casita and everything
Okay.
is basically had some sort of. It's 70 something years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of seen its life, for lack of a better term.
Okay. So
You know what I mean? So some of it you can be repaired, some of it will need to be replaced. The bathrooms are pretty straightforward. Most of it is just age and cosmetics, which we don't get into.
okay.
But a lot of them have missing drain stoppers, no leakage or anything like that. In the master shower, where you have the shower pan
Yep.
meet the walls and inside corners on the walls, there's grout cracks. So you want to have those sealed to keep moisture out from going behind the surround.
So master shower being the one on the opposite side of the house. from
Correct.
Where we are now.
The one
Okay.
that's been redone.
Okay.
Right. And that's a general maintenance issue. Every couple of years, you generally want to re-grout a shower and have it sealed and keep it protected.
Okay.
Which I guess brings me to the one in the casita, which really needs it done. There's a lot of leakage, I assume, is coming from it. I would just make the assumption, even though I can't put it in the report, that there is moisture behind the surround.
Okay.
There's a lot of moisture on the ground, in the walls, and around the whole place.
So sort of assume the worst with that particular
Exactly.
space. Okay.
Exactly. Other than that, with bathrooms, there's the GFCI in the master needs to be grounded. It is not, so it's not working right. It could be a simple fix.
Okay.
But you'll have to have an electrician take the outlet out and double check it and make sure it's wiring correctly. The one that's attached to it as well on the other side has the same problem, so that just leads me to believe that it's that one, and you fix that, you fix both.
Because they're in series. So
Yes,
okay.
exactly. And that should do it with the bathroom.
Air conditioning units. Let's talk about
AC
those.
and heating units. They are older units. They have serial numbers on them, which are like a VIN number for a car. So I have to look up online to find the age.
Okay.
With the cooling units outside, I can see the serial numbers. One out of the two heating units, I can see the serial numbers. They look exactly the same, so I'm going to go into the assumption that they're both the same age.
Okay.
They are electric heating units.
Okay.
They're not gas. But I would assume they're somewhere between 10 and 15 years old. I wouldn't be surprised to see them a little further than that, but I couldn't imagine too much. But they are working properly. We want to see something between 10 and 20 degrees, and you're getting about 15 to 20. So that's good, 20 being the better. That's from going the return vents that go back to the unit, and then the supplies that go into the rooms themselves, the little vents in the ceilings.
And the heating elements are working fine too.
Same thing, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about the hot water heater?
The hot water heater it's an older unit. Same thing with the serial number. It's a series of letters and numbers. I'll look that up. I would have made the assumption that it's also 10 to 15, but I will look it up to be for sure. It is operating fine. I think it's pushing around a 50 to 75 gallon water heater.
Okay.
I haven't had much issue with water getting to any of the taps. They've been coming out about 125 plus degrees. I think one was like 135.
And what's the lifespan of a hot water heater typically?
Generally, the hot water heater, the cooling units are about 10 years. I have seen units go for 30 years,
Okay.
depending on how often the house is used and all that other good stuff. The heating units are usually about 10 to 15. But like I said, they don't get used often out here, so they tend to last almost twice as long.
Okay.
But generally, as kind of one of those, a note in our report, that's what the age will be as far as the maximum.
All right, so we have here.
All right, electrical units. So obviously there's one that's older, probably the original with the house. So what they've done is this was an older unit which basically they don't want anybody using anymore.
Okay.
They call it a Zinsco panel, it's the brand. So your main shutoffs are right here. They left the main shutoffs here and then routed everything up to here, which you have the new modern breakers. It isn't labeled properly, which will be on the report as well. But the wiring inside, I opened it up. They're all going properly. You know, it looks like you have something for the heating units, and then most likely the stove or something like that, or the cooling units.
So you think there's a separate one for the casita?
I have no idea. It's hard to say because none of it's labeled. I did see one piece of conduit going out to the casita area, so potentially there is, one would hope, but you never know for sure. If it is, it would be a 110, not a 220, so you wouldn't be able to run a sub panel unless you ran more line out there.
Now, is this maxed out? I don't see any extra plugs in there. Is this one?
This is maxed out. This is it'll stay right here, 125. Your breaker's 125 here. So you could go bigger. You'd probably have to go this larger, but then you're pushing this panel. If you're really wanting to upgrade the system to like a 200 amp, your best bet is just to rip the whole thing out, put the new meter in and all the other good stuff, and put in a newer proper panel. I'm not saying that this one isn't proper, but you know, just kind of.
This one's fine for what we have.
Yes,
for what's going
exactly.
On. Okay.
But if you're planning to add a ton of other things, you've already got your double breaker here, so you're pretty much maxed out as far as this panel.
Okay. Like these
Yeah,
areas
just the
where it's
general
like,
roof. Well, it's just just the age of the roof and things like that. I mean, the fascia is. They don't even use this for fascia anymore.
I've never
That's what I was saying. Like all the wood trim, you know, it's just beat up here, just around where the old nail holes used to be is just rotting away.
Well, it almost looks like it was interior molding.
Well, that's what they kind of used. You know, that's all they had. So they would use it as a drip edge or something. Now what they want to see is a piece of metal that goes over the front of it. You could probably end up leaving a bulk of this. And if you're gonna do a roof or something, because I heard there was a mention of roofing, you can flash right over that and call it done. There's a number of ways I would talk to a roofing guy as far as that area, the fascia, goes. But there are some cracked roof tiles towards the front part of the house or the north side. And you know, more trim here, just to kind of reiterate what we had talked before. You know, kind of chewed out here, probably from an old panel or whatever. General wear around in here. This one's screwed shut. It doesn't even operate.
Again, that's pretty common with a lot of the windows.
That's almost every window. Every door just has seen better days.
Now, you had mentioned something about the plaster on the entire house since there have been so many additions that maybe there's...
There's a couple of spots that are kind of, like if you look down in here, you can see the wire mesh where they weren't able to get the stucco all the way in there. There's a couple of areas where, on the far side over here, where there's a, actually, let's walk over there. So I had this originally, actually one older than that was in a box like that. Then they routed it to another box that was kind of similar to that, but a little newer. And then they renovated it to a 200 amp, which was it was actually the size of almost both of those put together. That wouldn't fit in there, and they just kept linking them down on the side of the house. And then since we put a pergola over the top, you have to have access to the mast. So we had to move a 400 amp panel because we got solar all the way to the back of the house. So I've got some dress up to do.
So that bump out could potentially maybe even be removed at some point? Is that kind of the
Not really,
moral of that story?
because you've got electrical coming in through here. It's hard to say how much you can get rid of it. So that's your main coming in from the ground. Going up here, they've got a couple extension connections in here. Goes up, and then it's hard to see, but it most likely just bends right into this guy.
Okay.
Then it goes into here, and then since you put the new one in, it passes through and goes up to this guy. So if you're really getting like a new one, your best bet is to probably rip all this out, open this up, see what you've got in here, and if you're okay in here, I would just back all this stuff back up and then run off of this guy and put the new 200 amp here.
Okay.
Instead of trying to
Squeeze it in.
reconfigure the whole thing, adding on, just piling debris on debris in a
Okay.
sense.